This video is made for adult collectors because, oh my god, these video games are how old now? I played these, oh my god.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
I love video games. Part of what keeps me sane is playing Sea of Thieves with my friends, or Call of Duty, or relaxing with a nice single-player game. The Transformers games are some of the best made, and that's not like me being biased. They were regarded as some of the best tie-in games at the time, and still are now because tie-in games aren't really that big of a thing anymore. It's just Fortnite skins. I personally prefer Fall over War, but War's Prime design is just fantastic, and this is no slouch. Holy hell. It's awesome. Mostly. I have some issues with it that keep it from being a 10 out of 10, but TJ Omega said something on Twitter about this, saying that this figure is like figure of the year material. And yeah, I have to agree with him on that. Quickly, before we get into things, I do have a Patreon. It'll be linked in the description down below if you want to support the channel even further. So what makes him great? He feels solid. The plastic feels mostly okay, and the joints are super sturdy. The plastic on the side of the legs feels a bit rough, but it's not like terrible. Structurally though, there's something that I'm a bit off on. That's this part, the shoulders. They're on sliders to extend, and this bit feels less sturdy. You can squeeze it and it moves more than I would like it to. It is fine and unnoticeable mostly though, but when you move the arms, you can kind of see it. It's not terrible unless you go squeeze the back like I was doing just then. The rest of it though is epic. I see a lot of people saying that the original is better, and while I don't have the original anymore, I used to own it for a very long time, and this one is a lot nicer to mess with. Nothing wants to break, everything moves smoothly, nothing is creaking or rattling. It's just a nicer experience to me. I love the tooling here, and they do the use of parts thing to make that tooling, especially in the legs, which I think just makes things look a lot nicer, gives it more definition. Proportionally, I think he's a bit too squat. His design in the game had like thinner lower legs and slightly longer of a midsection, but this is not terrible here. It's just a tiny bit smushed. There's no Autobot symbol on the back, but I'm okay with that. It wasn't going to be looking much there anyways. The way this toy does its accessories is very cool. He can hold his axe, which comes with an extended handle, so you can two-hand it if you want. Not the greatest two-hand, but you can. And it fold-out blade to replicate the one scene he used to break out of K-On! Or the introduction in the game where he smacks that dude in the face. He also has a matrix. And his gun. Now in the game, the robots had a loadout of 2 guns that you could change throughout the playthrough. You could find guns just floating on the ground, you'd pick them up. But Prime and Megs are the only ones that had guns you couldn't change. Like one gun you couldn't. And that's this. You can take the forearm off, which is a tad loose on mine, but I can fix that, and plug on the new gun, and bam! That looks exactly like it did in the game. It's also blast effect compatible, and because it's a 5mm peg, you can plug other things onto it, like Orion's leg, a Minicon, an entire slammer for like a Jeff Dunham look here with his puppets. I just think this thing is fantastic. And the articulation, bro, it's so nice. It doesn't look like it could be dynamic, but I want to show you some poses so you can see for yourself. So I have no space here. There we go. For a chonkster, he's actually very posable. And there's a lot of range of everything on here. And the last few toys we've looked at have been sort of not that posable or posable but have problems. This doesn't have that. Head is on a very, very expressive ball joint. Like you can do pretty much anything you want. He looks up very far, which I'm really happy about. And he can look down a little bit, which is nice. Shoulders can rotate. They can go in and out. You can see what I'm talking about where they move slightly, which I'm not a big fan of. You have an elbow joint. This elbow bends. It comes right off. This elbow bends a little bit higher than 90 degrees. That should be in focus. Now, you can slide the shoulders out to have a butterfly joint. which, yes, it does make it look a little bit wider, but you have access to that joint, which I think is quite nice. He does have a waist rotation. You got hips that can go forward all the way. He can do a high kick. They're very stiff. They can't go back at all, which is kind of unfortunate. They can go out. You have thigh rotation here. Single jointed knee that bends like a hair below 90 degrees. And then, oh god, these hips are so stiff. And then the ankles can pivot. They can move down. And if you fold this up, they can go up. So he's very posable. He has a lot of cool joints in him. Oh, and he's wrist swivels. I forgot to mention that. However, when you rotate the wrists, the 5mm port gets covered by his like forearm guard. So you can't rotate the wrists and have him holding the axe because it literally, like, it won't go in. Which is a bit of a shame. I kind of wish that there was a way to fix that. Maybe if these were a little shorter, or you could like extend the wrist. That would have been cool. And then this is, yeah, mine's a tiny bit loose here, but it's literally this peg, or port, sorry, is too wide. And you'd think because of how chunky he is, you wouldn't be able to get him to look super dynamic, but like you saw the bits before this, he can stand on one foot perfectly fine. Like he's so balanced and so meaty. It's awesome. Also, the way that the arm stores, right, you plug it into the back, but because this is the same size as a blast effect port, you can put blast effect ports on his arm to make it look like he's been shot. Remember when Siege would do that, where you could like plug it into the shoulders or whatever? You can do that here, which I think is awesome. And you can do that. Transformation is very smooth. Like, it's so damn satisfying to pull the shoulders out and spin them around and then compress it back again. And the way they did all those slider things, there's no tabs. The sliders slowly taper in at the end and use friction to hold everything in place. And honestly, it actually works pretty well here. I think that design's really cool. I'm not sure how it's going to hold up over time, but just like a tab would break. So this, you know, it's a whole thing. Getting the arms folded in and the legs tabbed in can be a bit of a pain because you can't actually see the tabs. You just got to feel it, but it's not horrible. Truck mode is perfect until you look at the back. And yeah, while a little panel would have been nice to cover this, I don't see a way for them to have done that without sacrificing the look of the robot mode's legs. So I'm okay with it. Plus, I'm not going to be displaying my toy facing backwards, so I don't care. The rest of the truck, though, it actually gets bigger, which I think is awesome. The way all the shaping is going from that blocky robot to the more curvy alt mode without having kibble hanging off of it is commendable, except for the arms hanging out the back. Everything also fits nice and nothing wants to come off, which is a huge plus for me. Take that, Battle Trap. And like I said, it's a big Voyager. Like, it feels massive in the hand. Like, it's so solid. It's a brick. You could build a house out of this. The weapon storage isn't like the greatest, but at least it's there. Kind of wish they could have found a way to like fold everything up and tuck it underneath, because the underneath, there are some gaps in there. You could have probably shoved something in. I definitely recommend this. Like, it's so damn good. I got this at GameStop, and I know Pulse and BBTS are shipping this dude. Well, Pulse is shipping it on May 1st, but I highly recommend getting one. It is so fun to mess with. I have not been able to put this guy down, and the fact that this is the High Moon designs that are seeing the light of day again, it's so awesome. I did ask the designer, Sam, on Instagram, if this meant we were going to get ports eventually, and he's like, I'd love that too. So I'm assuming they're not on the table right now, but that would be nice. Anyways, that's been my look at Gamer Edition Optimus Prime. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.